Welcome, and thank you for joining me at a closer look into the workflow management capabilities of Kingland's 4th generation platform. The use case that we'll be looking at in this video will be centered around Know Your Customer and data quality and governance through workflow management activities. In large enterprise-class organizations, the ability to create and manage workflows is crucial, allowing workflows to be configured for review steps while executing our rules engine on the workflow is very popular in today's data management space. Let's go ahead and dive in. Once we get logged in, our dashboard is loaded. Let's go ahead and look at the left-hand navigation sidebar and click on the Administration tab. Once we do that, let's select Workflow Management. You can see that we have some pre-configured workflows already set up. The workflow is a graphical view that allows users to visually see what steps and transitions are part of a workflow. You can fill out information such as name, description of the workflow, set the trigger to begin the workflow, as well as set your first step and allowed work items. There's also an active or inactive checkbox. Let's go ahead and set up the final step of this workflow. You can see here that we're going to add a new step to this workflow called Final Approval. The expected completion times really help drive SLAs. You can see the assignment group is the admin group. This is the particular group in the organization that has final approval of these legal entity workflows. Now, once that's done, let's click on the transition that was set up to go to completed. We need to now change that transition to look at our new step that we just added. There's a rules execution section. Please refer to our other video for details on that. Now you can see that the transition has been redirected to our final approval step, and now we need to create our final transition. This will be the final approved transition. You can see we're setting the from step. We have the ability to require comments, require reasons on transitions, and also include pushbacks. Again, the rules execution section is here for that transition. Once our workflow is completely set up, we can save this workflow and begin using this workflow to do legal entity updates. We have an attribute data update step, a hierarchy data update step, and a final approval update step. So let's log in as our data attribute update user, Mike Johnson. Mike's job is to review legal entities and make any attribute updates to those. Once we get logged into Mike's dashboard, we can go ahead and perform a search for the legal entity we're looking for. In this case, let's search for Wells Fargo. Returning our search results, we're going to select the details of Wells Fargo and load it in our viewer. Once loaded, let's go ahead and click the edit icon, which will allow us to make an attribute change. The attribute change that we're going to make today is on the employee count within the organization. Once that's completed, our user Mike will click the save action, which will create a work item in our workflow drawer, which you'll see next. On this screen, you can see that our workflow has started. We have a workflow drawer at the bottom of the page that contains all of our work items associated to this workflow. This is a legal entity update, so you can see there is a legal entity update work item. If you click the Show Details button, it'll give the users information on what was changed in regards to the different attributes. We have the ability to click on the comment icon, so we can leave comments for context as this work item moves through the workflow. The next icon on the workflow drawer is the Details tab. Once that's clicked, you can see detailed information around this workflow. This is great for users wanting to get more context. The final icon is our activity stream. This highlights all the different activities that have happened during this workflow. After we click the Submit button, we'll return to Mike's dashboard where you can see the new work item for the next step, the hierarchy data update. Let's go ahead and log out as Mike and log in as our next user that's responsible for hierarchy updates, Billy Rosewood. Mr. Rosewood is going to log in and pick up that work item that Mike just completed and complete the next step of the workflow, which is the hierarchy data update step. You can see here from his dashboard, he has an unclaimed work item. Let's go ahead and claim this work item that Mike completed and open it up. As Billy opens this up, he can look at the details around the work item and see that the employee count was changed from an attribute standpoint. Now Billy's job is to look at the hierarchy. The change that Billy needs to make is Atlas Capital Funding is now going to be associated to Atlas Loan Funding in the capacity of an investment advisory type relationship. Once we select the type of relationship and percentage of relationship, we can go ahead and save this. This is going to generate a new work item. You can see now the workflow drawer has two work items, one for the relationship update and one for the attribute update that Mike did previously. We can now submit that, and Billy has a new unclaimed task on his dashboard. He is unable to pick this task up because he is not a member of the approval group that we set up during the initial workflow configuration. In order to claim that task, we need to log in as a person that is responsible for approving that. In this case, Don Brown is our approver. He is part of the admin group that has those privileges. You can see that Don has actually claimed this work item. He's able to open it up and view each work item in the workflow drawer to verify that the changes are correct. Once he does that, he's able to click the Approve button, and you can now see that the workflow has fully completed. To verify this, let's go back into our legal entity database, search for Wells Fargo, and verify that those changes are live in our database. Once the entity has loaded, you can see that the Atlas Loan Funding now has Atlas Capital Funding underneath it, and the employee count is updated to reflect Mike's work. That concludes our video. Thank you for joining me for another Kingland's 4th generation platform video focusing on workflow data management.